Hi, my name is Pastor Stephanie Lape. I serve at Cross and Crown Lutheran Church in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Hope you're doing really well today. I want to talk about setting and achieving goals. I love to do that. I love making goals and achieving them. It is super fun. And I think it is fun for a lot of people because we're all meant to be expansive, continually growing, continually on the leading edge, the cutting edge of our own lives, figuring out what the next thing is to do and be and experience. And so I think it's a lot of fun to set goals and achieve them. I'd like to talk today about three parts of that, three things that might be helpful for you in any stage of life, whether you're a child or in your later years. It really doesn't matter, but three things that are important and that are helpful in setting and achieving goals. The first one is that they need to be authentic to you. If they don't feel authentic, if they don't feel exciting, if they don't feel fun, then they're probably the wrong goals. When I used to teach at a community college, I would talk to my students a lot about their college majors and what they wanted to do with their lives. And sometimes I would sense that when they were telling me their major, it just didn't spark any kind of joy in them. I mean, they would say, like, I'm majoring in business because I'm going to go be a CEO of a corporation, or I'm going to go to medical school. And they just talked about it with this kind of like just not very happy. And I would say, well, tell me about your hobbies. What do you like to do for fun? And then they would say, oh, I really love to cook food, or I love photography. And then they would light up. And you could see the difference between their attitude when they spoke about their college major or their career plans and their hobbies. And so sometimes I would say, are you majoring in business because your parents want you to? And generally they would say yes. Or they would say, I want to go into a job that earns me a lot of money. Well, when that's your only interest, just the paycheck, you're going to have like a soulless, dead existence. Literature and plays have been written for many years about people who were doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and they would just go to work and punch the time clock and get their paycheck, and it was like they might as well be buried. They're just not having any enjoyment, any fun out of their lives. We're coming up to celebrating July 4th here in our nation, and one of the neat things about our nation is that it's not easy, but it's possible to achieve what you're supposed to achieve in life. There are so many opportunities. Now, if we want to go live in a communist country where we would be put into a certain position as a worker, then we could punch the time clock and just be part of this huge system that makes the country tick, but we wouldn't have our own stamp on it, our own identity, our own kind of joy. But we don't live in that kind of nation. We live in a place where we do have the opportunity to figure out what to do with our lives. I remember teaching at a community college, and there, the tuition was like $11 a unit. I think it's up to like 25 now, but still it's possible to get some kind of education, some kind of training, some kind of assistance in what you want to be and do in this life. And you can make a career out of anything. So if you think to yourself, well, what I really like is photography, and that doesn't pay like being a doctor. Well, it might not pay quite as much, but there's a lot of things you could do with photography or music or art or theater or any of the things you're interested in. You can find something that can be exciting to you. Or maybe your goals are not career related, but maybe it's a place you want to travel to in this lifetime you have. One of the ways to look at your goals is to think about being on your deathbed at 101 years old, or whatever it is, where we're going to go meet our maker. Look back upon your life. What are the things you want to say that you accomplished? Maybe it's not a career or a travel experience or a career change. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's reaching out more to your grandchildren. Maybe it's developing relationships with more friends. Whatever it is that excites you, that's the point. So it's not the same thing for everybody. I love my line of work. I love it. And I can't even tell you how many people told me I could not make a living in any kind of religious studies. They told my husband that when he majored in philosophy. What are you going to do with that? Well, he loves teaching philosophy. So Find what you love. It's not going to look the same to your neighbor, but God's telling you a personal, individualized plan for your life. Then the second thing is when you have your big goals in mind, whether it's go to Paris, France, whether it's get debt free, whether it's remodel your home, change your career, whatever it is, then break it down into bite-sized portions. Reverse engineer it, which means don't think I need to do all of this right now, but look in reverse. What do I need to do in the next 12 months? Well, then what do I need to do each month to make the 12-month goal happen? And then what do I need to do this week? So if you're going to get out of debt, you don't all of a sudden overnight get out of debt, but you think, well, what do I need to do? Where do I want to be at the end of 12 months? So what do I need to do this year? And then what does that mean? How much do I need to put aside every month to make that happen? And then how much do I need to put aside every week to make my monthly goal happen? And then you can see, maybe I shouldn't get that extra Starbucks coffee and instead make coffee at home or make lunch at home or do those small things that will then add up. If you want to make a career change, make a phone call, read a book, watch a YouTube video. Just do the small things and they will add up. Everything I've ever accomplished in my life, I did not accomplish it overnight. I did this 24-hour segment worth of work. And in the Lord's Prayer, we say, give us this day our daily bread. We don't want all the bread we're ever going to eat right now. We want just today's food, today's goals, today's portion. And we're going to do today what will then add up eventually. And then the last bit of advice I have to give is one that I really needed to learn myself. And that is that, and I still take this in and remember this every day because it's counterintuitive. And that is that goal achievement does not come by pushing really hard. It does not come by striving. So my natural inclination is to want to get really busy, like to wake up early, to stay up late, to work on the weekends, to just push through. And what that does to me, and I believe to a lot of people, is it gets us off center, it gets us off balance, it gets us frustrated because things aren't happening quickly enough, and it doesn't produce a happy life. It produces a life where you're out of sync, you're out of rhythm with your natural self. Also, as a pastor, I'm coming at this believing in the spiritual world. Of course, so there is a God that helps us. And I believe that when we get peaceful through meditation, prayer, reading scripture, walking in nature, whatever helps you find that place of peace. And you know what that is. You've been there. You're probably there many times a day. Whatever it is for you, and it's going to be individual. To some people, gardening is super peaceful. To other people, it's very stressful. So whatever brings you peace, when you're in that place, I believe that we are more open to hearing that still small voice of the Holy Spirit tell us what we're supposed to be doing and what our goals should be anyway, and tells us the next right thing to do along those lines. So I still have a lot of goals to accomplish, so I'm not trying to lift myself up as the be-all and end-all goal accomplisher in this world at all. But I've accomplished a few things that I'm happy to have accomplished. And one was I wrote this book that I wanted to write during quarantine. Well, before I wrote it, it seemed like this gigantic mountain to climb. Like, how do you write a book and self-publish it and put it on Amazon? Like, it seemed like this unattainable thing. But I read a book, a small book, showing the steps. And so every day I would be like, okay, what's the next thing? Just the next one step. I didn't even read ahead to see what I needed to do next. So when I was in the writing process, I didn't want to know about marketing. That would come. I didn't want to know about how to get a cover designed. I didn't want to know about editing. I didn't want to know about formatting. That would have been overwhelming. I just knew, okay, I'm going to trust this process for the next thing. And then in the mornings, I would meditate, which is just kind of trying to still my thoughts. Because like I said, my default is to get more mentally active and ramped up and think, what do I need to do? What are the 15 things today? And so I meditate every morning to calm all of that monkey mind and to say, God, what is the one thing, the next one thing to do today? And then I would just schedule that in every day. So every morning I would take a couple of hours before my regular work and I would devote that time to that goal. So whether that time was used writing a chapter or whether that time was used contacting an editor or something like that, I would just use that couple of hours designated for that to accomplish just the one next thing. And sure enough, eventually you run out of the one next thing to do, and then there's a book. So that's just one example, but if you want to do any of the goals you want to do, you just break it down and then try to calm yourself down and like calm down the voice of achieving right away and ask God, what is the next thing to do? The other thing is just to tell ourselves it can be done and believe in ourselves. I remember before I went to seminary, I was almost 40 years old before I went to seminary, which is considered, much older than most seminarians, at least traditionally. And I had 2 small children and I was like, what am I doing? But I felt this call to have this goal and to do this thing. And so I remember talking to my mom about it and I said, I can't believe I'm 40 years old thinking about going back to graduate school and I have these kids and I have a job and, I can't believe this. And my mom said, what else are you going to do with the rest of your life? And I thought, that's right, because I could either sit and watch Oprah all day long, which wasn't far from the truth, because that's what I did on my free time sometimes, or I could read novels, which I enjoyed, but I knew that what God was calling me to do was to go to seminary. So I was like, yeah, we all get 24-hour segments, and so what else am I going to do with my life? Now, this will mean if I go to seminary, I'm not going to be watching Oprah and reading novels and whatever. I have to devote myself to this, but eventually, one step at a time, seminary got done. So with whatever I've accomplished, I tell my children this, it wasn't overnight. It was never climbing a mountain ever. It's only give us this day our daily bread. So I hope that makes sense to you. Writing those January New Year's resolutions is not accomplishing a goal, but breaking it down into steps and then just doing a step each day, trying to just calmly, methodically go through it. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, this was done. This was accomplished. Let God do the heavy lifting. Let God figure out how it's all going to happen. Focus on the why you want it. Focus on the why, not the how. God will give you the how. So hope this helps. Thanks for being here, and please subscribe to our channel. If you have not yet, give it a thumbs up for encouragement. That always is great when we see those thumbs up. And thank you so much for all that you're doing to support our YouTube community here. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.